You're listening to NPR. Good morning, everyone. My name is Claire Snell, and welcome to Bar Talk, where we discuss different issues pertaining to the world of law that affect us each and every day. Today, we were revisiting and wrapping up our conversation from Tuesday about data mining and the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit. If you're just tuning in, don't fret. We're going to have a lot of great questions today, like how should we try to balance national security and the right to privacy? And what does data mining even entail, really? All of that and more right now. Let's get started. We left off last week with Brian Ayes, a noted investigator and data analyst at the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit headquarters in Tallahassee, Florida. Brian does data mining every day. What is data mining, you ask, and why is it important? Let Brian explain. He says, data mining for the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit is a very important activity in fraud analytics. Data mining allows large comparisons of data that individual complaints of providers fail to show. For example, it provides an insight into wide arrays of billing codes that are used excessively by providers, combinations of kickback referrals possibly taking place, hidden billing techniques, or more fraud strategies. Data mining can highlight these issues that are usually hidden within the millions of claims in Florida. Without data mining, fraud cases and curing claims data would take a great amount of time. Investigating fraud without the knowledge of the total climate in the Medicaid database would also allow fraud to grow and take place over a longer period without being interrupted. I asked Brian then what was the most difficult part about his work. He said, understanding the scope and amount of fraud in the world is difficult to gain hold of at times. Much as what we deal with is, quote, light crime. This can lead to smaller amounts of arrests or a lack of large settlements when compared to the amount of money defrauded originally. Another difficult situation is how ever-expanding fraud is in the medical world and how many techniques, strategies, and schemes there are that still have not been discovered, and how providers use these undiscovered techniques to hide their fraudulent activity. This has to mean, then, that there is either room for data mining in law enforcement to grow, or, alternatively, we need to make a greater effort to keep up with the technological advances of potential criminals, because it's always evolving. Data mining can do so much for preventing crime. We just need to create a safeguard to protect our Fourth Amendment privacy rights. Brian says that the ease of access to the claims that is available to them at the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit makes our analytics easier and hastens the response to field investigations. The difficulties could be that an investigation relies so much on this data that if one miscalculation or incorrect code is used, our data might not be accurate and could cause a long delay for the investigator and or the lawyer. I asked Brian, what's the most rewarding thing about your work and why? And his response is a pretty good way to wrap up this week's edition of Bar Talk. Quote, being able to assist in investigations and have my hands in the justice system was the reason I went to college. The people underneath Medicaid are minorities, poor, and disenfranchised. They need just as much protection as anyone else. The program they expect to help them with their health should not take advantage of their status. At the same time, it is important to make sure the taxes going into the system are used responsibly to allow the continued implementation of Medicaid. It's reassuring to understand that our work leads to arrests, policy changes, and repayment to the taxpayers and victims in Florida. And that wraps up today's episode of Bar Talk and this week's edition. For a complete works cited list, I invite you to visit my website, hawaiiclaire.wixsite.com/bartalk. And you can check it out to hear all of my podcasts on demand. Check me out on Facebook and on Twitter and share with a friend if you think I'm cool, again, however unlikely that is. I do want to thank my sponsors, Dunkin' Donuts Coffee, just for existing, Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin', and then Uber Eats, which brings me much needed food at any hour during the long nights of exam week. Uber Eats, the food you love, delivered fast. Next time. Fake news? What's the freedom of the press got to do with technology? Tune in next time for a discussion about how we as a human race co-evolve with the press and its various developments over time. Thank you for listening. I'm Claire Snell and this has been Bar Talk.